Hey everyone, it's me again, Brittany, and welcome to my 2021 bullet journal setup. So just to start things off, the notebook that I'm using is an Archer and Olive bullet journal in the B5 size, and it's the Fox journal. I think it's adorable, but I've never used a B5 journal before this one. I have always used A5 journals for my reading bullet journals that I do. But last year when I was doing my life journal, I realized that I just felt like I never had enough space, so I decided to try out a B5 this year. And so far, I'm actually loving the extra space, so no regrets there. But we're just starting it all off by writing out my name in kind of bad cursive. I don't know why I couldn't write my name in either of my journals this year, but I just doodled some stars. I was using a Tombow Fudenosuke. All of my materials will also be linked down below for you guys in case you're curious about any of them. I probably will forget to mention most of them, but yeah. The first actual page that we're doing is the cover page where I just write out 2021 in this very simple block lettering. It's the same lettering I actually did for my reading bullet journal setup, and it's heavily inspired by Amanda Reach Lee's setup for this year. I just loved how simplistic it is, and I've been kind of obsessed with this kind of font, so I went for it. But I actually also decided to pick a word of the year for this year, which isn't something I've ever done before. It's not something I ever thought I would do before, but I don't know. I'm just trying to manifest this year and set goals, and one of those is transformation. I don't know. I really like the idea of transformation versus change, because not everything, okay, to be fair, the definition of transformation is literally a thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance, but I feel like transformation has such a positive connotation, while change can definitely, in my opinion, lean a little bit more negative. But yeah, I wanted something to encompass the idea of growing, and I felt like transformation really was that word for me, and hopefully, since I wrote it down as my word of the year, I'll actually keep it in mind for this year. I also wanted to mention, I actually did do all of my first pages, my yearly spreads, in monotone colors, so black and white and the grayscale, just because I personally prefer for the first pages to be in monotone, but that's just me. And then on the left-hand side, I'm doing my key, because I'm still kind of trying to get a hand of my keys while I write things out. I feel like I used to really mix up canceled and incomplete a lot and moved, so hopefully I stick to it. And the official first few spreads, which obviously on the left-hand side, I'm doing a dot grid spacing spread. This is again inspired by Amanda Reach Lee, but I really felt like I needed it for this one, just because, again, this is my first B5 sized journal, so I just don't know any of the page numbers or page amounts or anything like that, and I find it really helpful when I'm, obviously trying to make spreads. But yeah, I mostly just stick to kind of the halves and thirds, because other than that, I feel like it's pretty easy to do the math, and I normally feel like those are the ones I stick to anyways. And for the title, I actually just titled it Space It Out, which I thought was cute, just because in general I felt like I was mildly going for a star, galaxy, spacey, night sky theme. So Space It Out obviously can both refer to spacing and space. I know, revolutionary. And now for the next page, which I decided to make a year in pixels. I love how these ones look, just whenever I go on Pinterest and look at bullet journals, I feel like this is definitely the most aesthetic kind of spread you can make. And it's basically just tracking your mood over the months, and each color refers to a specific mood, and then you see it all gridded out, all cute and stuff. You'll see that my months look weird. That's because I decided to make this both a mood tracker and a productivity tracker, since productivity is something that I really have been trying to focus on. And I am actually only using this journal for the first 6 months of the year. I just expect myself to run out of space after that point. That's what happened last year anyways. So I only wrote out January through June on each side. And obviously the left side is for my moods, right side is for productivity, but the colors both mean the same thing. In reality, I didn't want to pick like the classic rainbow. That's what I started with here, but then I was looking at it and I'm like, ooh, no, I kind of want more like soft tones and pastels. But I don't normally like yellows, and there's 2 different yellows in this stack, and I also don't love how red bleeds into silver. So mistakes were made, and I learned for next time, but for now, hopefully my mood kind of stays in the middle, because all those colors I love, like the green and the blue and the purple. We'll see. I love actually that I did on the bottom. It's like a bar that's bleeding all the colors together. I just think it looks really cool, and it gives me a great idea of how the colors are going to work together. And once again, I just kind of doodled some stars around the title and around the page. And before we flip to the next page, I did actually use washi tape to kind of mark out my dot grid spacing page just to make it easier to find. I've seen this hack used before, and I wanted to give it a try myself since I seem to always lose a page that should be so easy to find. And I did actually use my Tombow glue tape because my washi tapes, all of them for whatever reason, never stick down as well as other people's seem to. I'm not sure if it's just the dry weather or what it is, but yeah. And now for my future log, this is another page that I took heavy inspiration from Amanda Reach Lee's setup video. But before we officially start to talk about it, I did want to note that on the left side, the area that I did the ombre of the Tombow brush pens, it did bleed through, but I did kind of expect it just because it was pilling up when I was trying to get them to blend, and that normally does mean that it's going to bleed through. Even though this paper is extremely thick and can take most markers and things, once you start to really layer on the ink or like watercolor, it will bleed through. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I didn't really mind for this kind of spread anyways, and it didn't affect me. But I was just cutting out the Dutch doors just then for where my months are going to go and the little tabs that go along with it. And then right now I'm actually just coloring in the borders with a black Posca paint marker. And originally I'd been hoping to paint them both in with the paint marker, but it was running out of ink. So I ended up having to switch over to an acrylograph from Archer and Olive, which was blue, which didn't match my monotone vibe, but I think it was neutral enough that it didn't matter. As far as like how they draw, I feel like I've had good experiences with most of the acrylograph marker pen things. I think that they just look really good. They are very seamless. As you can tell, like the way that the Posca one looks, like you can actually see different strokes while the acrylograph seems to blend all together. So yeah, it just did take a lot longer since it was a thinner marker. And then I did actually just use a Tombow brush pen to color in the borders of the other 2 tabbies. And here we're just gonna fill out the days of the month, which is tedious work, but not something I terribly mind, especially because I'm normally listening to an audiobook while I set these up. And my battery had ended up dying, so this is the next day. This process definitely took a few days. I don't know why it takes me so long, but it definitely always does. But right now I'm just writing out the days, or not the days, the months, and I was switching between the outline of the block lettering and the thick block lettering. I just thought it looked a little bit better that way. And then you will notice that I actually did do all 12 months, and that was just because, I mean, a future log is meant more to like be able to write down appointments and things like that before you actually make your spreads, and so I didn't want to limit it to the 6 months of the year when I might need to write down things for later in the year, obviously. I also want to mention, last year I did try to do a future log, but it just didn't work out for me. I definitely ended up forgetting about it. So this year I wanted to take a slightly different approach to it. I basically left a space under each of the months where I could write down those like important dates, like holidays and appointments, birthdays, things like that. And then I blocked out a larger area under it that I can actually like write out things as they happen. So the way that I used like my January one, I wrote down every day that I had like work or an appointment, just like one of the things that would have been considered an event, and just filled out like the symbol next to it on whether I went or not, which unsurprisingly I went to work, you know. But yeah, so now it's just writing in the title, which obviously 2021, 20 on the left hand side, 21 on the right, and then future log, and once again just filling out those little doodles of stars and eventually adding the kind of like backdrop situation to the title. And now for some pretty basic spreads. Honestly, I knew I was going to need these going into this year. Last year, I just kept having to make separate areas for them every single month. That was one of the things I tried to keep track of last year, was if there was something that was repeating over every month, that I would be able to just put at the start of my bullet journal as like a yearly thing. And obviously like a video tracker and a sponsorship tracker was 100% on that list. These are just very simple graph-like spreads that help me keep track on videos that I want to film, videos that I have filmed, things that I need to still do for them, like edit or send in invoices for the sponsorships. They're not very aesthetic, but they're so necessary, and I mean, I've already used them so much. I know that these spreads in particular aren't really something that's incredibly relatable and that everyone will have use for, but I feel like in general, a good tip that I have for you is if you find that you're doing a certain kind of spread every single month and repeating it over and over again, and you'd rather have the simplicity of having it at the start of the year, maybe keep that in mind for the next time you set up a bullet journal. These next spreads actually kind of fell in that same category because every single month I found that I wanted to have kind of like a wrap up of movies and TV shows that I'd seen, just because I will forget things so easily, and especially like timeline wise, I never remember when I see something. I just know I have seen it. So I went to Pinterest with this in mind, and I found a couple of ideas. Specifically this TV show one I definitely found on Pinterest. If I still have the pin saved, I'll like post a picture of it right now. But I just thought it was so cute. You put like the little TV, and then I think I just kind of went my own route with it because I did want to be able to track like episodes or seasons and fill it out as I watch it. I also wanted to be able to put the date started and the date finished and all that good stuff. And so I definitely took my own route with it, which you can't really see fully yet. But on the right side, I wanted my movies area to kind of look like a bulletin board. So as I watch movies, I'll like print out the pictures and put it where the boxes are, and then under it I'll put the rating that I had for it, and the title, and maybe the date I watched it. So yeah, and then I put stars all around it. I don't know. I really like how the movies one turned out. I feel like it'll look really cool in the end. Now this spread is absolutely genius. Once again, I can't take credit. This is 100% something that I got an idea from Amanda Rachley's setup video. It's a package tracker to like track online packages and like when you got them and when they're supposed to come in by. I just think it's so smart and great for someone who has a little bit of an online shopping problem like me. And right now I'm actually doing my money spread. I made mistakes, which is why I'm having to go in with the white acrylograph, but it's just a very simplistic spread where I can kind of keep track of how much money I'm making every month, how much money I'm spending every month, and how much money I'm directly putting into my savings account every month. I just feel like budgeting in general is something that I want to put more of a focus on this year. While I wouldn't say I'm bad with money, I would definitely say my habits could be improved on. I mean, I have a bit of a retail therapy issue. I mean, I just buy too many things, and probably things that I don't need. So hopefully having it all on the same page of seeing my spending habits and having to admit to it will keep me a little bit more accountable. And then I did write just a gift list and a wish list as well, which those, I mean, they're as they sound. A wish list is like my personal wish list. A gift list is gift ideas that I have along the year. The gift list was, again, something that I got from Amanda Rachley's video. I mean, at this point, you should probably just watch her video because apparently I don't have original ideas of my own. And now for a spread that I was actually pretty excited to make, which is probably my most Virgo quality because I'm not much like a Virgo in any other way. But this is a cleaning checklist. This isn't to say that I am the cleanest person. I'm honestly a very forgetful person, so I need to have checklists like this to be able to look back on because I love things to be very, very clean. But my mind forgets everything it needs to do. So I wanted to have some kind of checklist to be able to keep track of those kinds of things. And I did just put like the 6 months that I'm tracking in this bullet journal. And then you'll see, depending on like the task, there's 4 ticks in each month, or 2, or just 1, if it's like a weekly thing, bi-weekly, or monthly task. And yeah, I mean, I can already tell you I've kind of failed miserably in January, but it's really nice to be able to see it and have something to look at. But yeah, and then I just titled it Clean Like a Virgo because, again, that is probably my most Virgo quality. And then on the right-hand side, this one I probably could have merged with the other one, but I don't know. I saw this one actually on Pinterest again, and I loved how it looked, so I wanted to make my own. It's called a When Did I Last spread, which again is great for me because I tend to have a really bad grasp of time and like when I do things. So they're like tasks like clean my car, go to the dentist, get a haircut, change my contacts. And then you just like mark in, or you fill in the week that you do it in within the month. So yeah, and then I drew on these clouds, and those clouds actually inspire the decorations that I do for the rest of the spreads, and also what I end up going back and doing on the spreads before this. I just loved how the clouds looked. I thought it was very, very cute. But yeah, on to the next thing. Now we're just doing a realistic bucket list, which I feel like I shouldn't have called it a bucket list because it's really like a fancy to-do list. I don't really know how else to describe it. I'm not a very good bucket lister because I'm one of those people that if I know I want to do something, it's very hard to get me to stop in that moment. So bucket lists don't make much sense to me. I should have just named this a really like important to-do list. But on the right-hand side is a lunar calendar where I actually drew out, I'm going to be gluing it in. This was actually in my Blackout Archer and Olive book, but I drew out the cycle of the moon for every single month of the year, the whole year, because at that point I was like, yeah, I'm doing it all. It took forever, but I do really love how it looks. Just little circles with full moons and half moons and all that good stuff. I don't know. I just like to know when the moon is going to be full, and I like to know, I don't know. I don't even have a really good reason for it. I just get happy when I see the moon. But yeah. While I'm coloring in these clouds, I feel like it's important to mention I won't likely be doing monthly bullet journal spreads, like filming them like this. I did want to do my setup again because a lot of people have been curious in the past, so I figured why not? But filming spreads kind of takes some of the fun out of it for me. What I did for February, because we already are in February when I'm doing this voiceover, but what I did for February was I actually did my journal on the side and then I flipped through it before I did my reading bullet journal for the month. So I don't know. I feel like that'll be a good way to keep you guys in the know of what's going on with my journal without having to sit down and film it, just because this can take so long. So I'm sorry about that, but I mean, please let me know if you actually end up enjoying this video. Maybe we can have more journaling content on this channel, but yeah. Now for my 2021 in pictures spread. This is actually one that I've loved ever since I first saw it on, you guessed it, Amanda Rachel's videos, but I once again stuck to that cloud theme. I fell in love with how the clouds looked on that one spread. And I drew the moon in so that you would know it's the night sky. And you'll see that I barred off the bottom, and that's because I wanted to have like a timeline area. I left a similar space last year in my journal, but I ended up not using it. But ideally it should have like big events. Who knows if there will be big events again, because last year, obviously I was home for most of the year, so nothing ended up happening that was very notable. But I still left a timeline area this year just in case things do become notable and that I want to put it down. And I'm actually using, if you were wondering, for like the squares, I was using my film paper, like the little printer that I have, the Life Print printer. That's what I plan on using to print out the picture for every single month. So I was just spacing it out that way. And I didn't really care that it was kind of like all over the place. I thought that it added to the cloudy, kind of whimsical theme. And you'll see that I actually end up kind of differentiating between inside the box and outside the box by obviously coloring in the cloud. Because once I put the picture, you won't be able to see inside the box. So yeah. Oh, and I forgot, we have a lovely interruption from T'Challa. He was just being very cuddly and adorable, which I feel like makes sense because even though this is the last spread that I ended up filming for this video, I had been filming for like 3 days, and so he probably just missed me. That's what I like to think. Or he wanted to cause mayhem. It could be either. He is kind of chaotic. And right as I was finishing coloring, Chala put his little snoot in to say goodbye to the camera because officially this was the last spread. There are some blank pages after this that I left blank just in case I want to add any more yearly spreads, but this is officially it. And now it's time for the actual flip through, where there is much better lighting because I finally figured out how to work the double ring light situation. But for the most part, everything has stayed the same. I've actually made a lot of good use out of these spreads I did choose, so I'm very happy with that. I did add clouds to like all of my pages. I think that it was the missing touch that I didn't know my journal needed. I think it looks so much better with all those like gray clouds, just kind of like a rainy, cloudy night sky. And then there's this page, my goals page, which I didn't really show. And then there was a vision board that I still need to make on that blank page. I just need to buy a printer. So if you have any good color printer recommendations, please leave them below. I've been looking at a few, but they're still out of stock, so let me know what you use. But other than the spreads that needed a color printer to be finished, all of the other ones are done. I kind of like that you're seeing them partially filled out just because like I don't know, I think it's funny. The star of the show ended up being my lunar calendar spread. I mean, the dark clouds are just so vibey. It's beautiful, but those are really the only things that I changed. I mean, it ended up being almost everything, but now we're just going to show you my January spread. Not all of it because it's already filled out, so it's censored, but it ended up being just a light festival, like lantern festival theme. I don't know, I just thought it was very pretty and whimsical. But that actually completes our video today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know what kind of content you would like to see on this channel. I really am hoping to film a lot more on here this year. I want to have a lot of fun with it, so let me know what kind of videos you would like to see. Let me know if you enjoyed this one, and thank you so much for watching. If you want to leave an emoji down below, let's leave a cloud emoji. Other than that, I will see you in my next one. Goodbye!